What if every accusation wasn't a threat, but an opportunity? An opportunity to expose weakness, to shift control, to assert dominance, without raising your voice. Because most people hear an accusation, and they panic, they explain, they justify, they defend, and in that moment, they give up power. But a few people do something different. They don't defend, they don't react, they flip the burden. And when they do, the entire dynamic changes. This is not communication. This is power. 1. The accusation is a test. Every accusation is a test, not of truth, not of facts, not of what actually happened, but of you, of your composure, of your control, of your ability to remain unmoved when pressure is applied. Because the moment someone accuses you, they are not just speaking, they are watching your face, your tone, your timing, watching for the smallest shift, that slight hesitation, that change in energy, that urgency to respond, because those signals tell them everything they need to know. They tell them where your emotions are, where your limits are, where your control ends. And once they see that, they adjust, they push harder, they go deeper, they become more precise, not because they're searching for truth, but because they've found something more valuable, your reaction. This is what most people fail to understand. They think the accusation is the problem. They think the words are the threat. But the real game is not in what is said. It's in what is triggered. Because an accusation is designed to create movement. Internal movement. Your heart rate increases. Your thoughts accelerate. Your attention narrows. You feel pulled into the moment. And that pull is the test. Will you stay still, or will you react? Because the moment you react, the test is over, and you've already given the answer, not with your words, but with your state. You've shown that you can be moved, that you can be pressured, that you can be pulled out of control. And in power dynamics, that is everything, because control is not about force. It's about influence. The ability to shift someone's internal state without touching them. And an accusation is one of the fastest ways to do that. Creates tension, instant tension, and tension demands resolution. That's why you feel the need to speak, to explain, to correct, because your mind wants to close the gap, to remove the discomfort, to restore balance. But that urgency is exactly what gives the other person leverage. Because now, you are acting under pressure. And when you act under pressure, you are no longer choosing. You are reacting. And reaction is predictable. You explain more. You justify more. You try harder. And the more you try, the more information you reveal about what matters to you, about what affects you, about where you feel vulnerable. And that information can be used, not necessarily in that moment, but later, because now they know how to reach you, how to provoke you, how to control the dynamic. This is why accusations are so powerful, not because they are true, but because they create access. Access to your emotions, access to your attention, access to your state. And once someone has access, they have influence. This is the real test, not whether you can defend yourself, but whether you can remain untouched, whether you can hear the accusation and not feel the need to respond immediately, whether you can hold your position without rushing to protect it. Because the strongest position is the one that does not move, the one that does not react, the one that does not feel the need to prove itself. But most people cannot hold that position because silence feels dangerous, feels like weakness, like you're losing, like you're giving up control. So they speak, and the moment they speak, they enter the frame where they must explain, where they must justify, where they must prove. And once you enter that frame, you are no longer leading, you are responding, and the one responding is always one step behind. This is why the accusation is a test of whether you can resist that pull, that internal pressure, that instinct to defend. Because if you can, everything changes. You don't just pass the test. You reverse it. Now they are the one being observed. Now they are the one under pressure. Now they are the one who must explain. But that shift only happens if you don't react, if you don't rush, if you don't give them what they expected. Because expectation is where their control comes from. They expect movement. They expect emotion. They expect defense. And when you break that expectation, you break their advantage. This is the beginning of power, not in what you say, not in how you argue, but in your ability to remain still when everything inside you wants to move. Because the accusation was never the threat. It was the test. And most people fail it instantly, but you don't have to, because once you see it, you can choose differently. You can pause. You can observe. You can hold your position. And in that moment, you are no longer being tested. You are the one in control. 2. Why defense makes you weaker. Defending yourself feels right, feels logical, feels necessary, feels like the only option you have. When someone accuses you, your instinct activates instantly. You want to correct them. You want to explain the truth. You want to protect your image. Because in your mind, if you don't defend yourself, you lose. But in power dynamics, the opposite is true. The moment you defend yourself, you step down. Not visibly, not dramatically, but subtly. And in social power, subtle shifts are everything. Because the moment you begin to defend, you accept a position, a lower position. You accept that they have the right to question you. They have the authority to challenge you. They have placed you in a role where you must respond. And now, you are no longer equal. You are reacting. And the one reacting is always following. Think about how it looks from the outside. One person is speaking calmly, making a claim. The other begins to explain, adds detail, tries to clarify. Even if the second person is right, they don't look powerful. They look invested. They look affected. They look like they need to be understood. And needing to be understood is a form of dependence. Because now your state depends on their perception. You are trying to change how they see you, trying to fix the narrative, trying to regain control. But the moment you try, you've already lost it. Because control is not taken through effort. It is held through stillness. And defense is movement. The more you explain, the more you move. The more you justify, the deeper you go. And the deeper you go, the harder it becomes to step out. This is where most people get trapped. They think, if I just explain it clearly enough, they'll understand. But this isn't about understanding. It's about structure. And the structure is already set. They accuse. You respond. They lead. You follow. Even if you're speaking more, you're still reacting. And reaction is a weaker position. Because reaction is predictable. When you defend yourself, your behavior changes. Your tone shifts. Your pace increases. Your words multiply. You reveal urgency. And urgency signals pressure. And pressure signals weakness. Not weakness of truth, but weakness of position. Because the stronger position never feels rushed. It doesn't feel the need to explain immediately. It doesn't feel the need to prove itself. It doesn't feel threatened by accusations. It simply exists, unmoved. But defense breaks that stillness. It shows that something inside you has been triggered. And once someone knows they can trigger you, they know they can control you. This is why defending yourself often makes things worse. Not because you're wrong, but because you're engaging in the wrong way. You're adding fuel to something that feeds on your energy. Every explanation becomes material. Every clarification becomes another angle. Every response becomes another opportunity for them to continue. And suddenly, you're not defending one accusation anymore. You're defending everything, layer after layer, point after point, trying to close every gap. But the gaps never close, because they're not meant to. The structure is designed to expand. The more you speak, the more space they have to move. The more you explain, the more they can reinterpret. And the more you try, the more it looks like you have something to prove. This is the paradox. The act meant to protect your position is the very thing that weakens it, because it communicates something deeper than words ever could. Communicates that you are affected. And in power dynamics, the one who is affected is the one who can be controlled. This is why silence feels uncomfortable, because silence removes that instinctive reaction. It removes the need to fix, to correct, to explain. And without that movement, the structure begins to break. But most people never reach that point, because they can't resist the urge. The urge to be understood. The urge to be right. The urge to defend their identity. And that urge is what keeps them inside the cycle. A cycle where they are constantly reacting, constantly explaining, constantly trying to regain something they've already given away. Their position, their control, their power. Because power is not in proving yourself. Power is in not needing to. The moment you understand that, everything changes. You stop rushing to respond. You stop over-explaining. You stop trying to fix every perception. And in that stillness, you reclaim something most people lose instantly. Authority, not through words, not through argument, but through presence. Because the strongest position is the one that doesn't need defense. And once you hold that position, you are no longer reacting to the accusation. You are above it, observing it, controlling the space around it. That is where real power begins. And that is why defense will always make you weaker. 3. The Machiavellian move. Flip the burden. There is a moment, right after the accusation is made. A small window of time, barely noticeable, where everything inside you wants to react, to explain, to defend, to correct the narrative. Your mind is already forming sentences. Your body is already preparing to speak. But this is where the game changes, because instead of reacting, you pause. Not for long, just enough to break the pattern, because the pattern is predictable. They accuse, you defend. But when you pause, you interrupt that pattern. And in that interruption, you create space. Space to choose. This is where the Machiavellian move begins. Not with aggression, not with denial, but with a question. A simple shift. Instead of explaining yourself, you ask them to explain themselves. You flip the burden. And the moment you do, everything reverses. Because now, they are no longer the one applying pressure. They are the one feeling it. You look at them calmly, unrushed, unbothered, and you say, "What exactly are you implying?" Notice the shift. You didn't defend. You didn't deny. You redirected. Now they must clarify. Now they must define their claim. And most people are not prepared for that, because their accusation was never structured. It was emotional, instinctive, reactive, designed to trigger you, not to be examined. So when you ask for clarity, they hesitate. Their confidence drops. Their tone changes. Their structure weakens. Because now, they are the one being observed. This is the first level of the reversal. But it doesn't stop there. If they continue, you go deeper, calmly, slowly. You ask, "What evidence do you have?" Again, you don't defend. You don't argue. You place responsibility back on them. And responsibility is heavy, especially for someone who was expecting control. Now they must prove. Now they must justify. Now they must support their claim. And the moment they try, they step into the position you avoided. They begin explaining. They begin reaching. They begin filling gaps. And as they do, their authority weakens. Because the more someone tries to prove something, the more it looks like they are unsure. This is the second level of the reversal. But the true power is not in the words. It's in the state behind them. Because you are not asking aggressively. You are not challenging emotionally. You are calm, neutral, still. And that stillness amplifies the pressure. because now the contrast is visible. They are moving. You are not. They are speaking more. You are saying less. They are reacting. You are observing. And in social dynamics, that contrast defines power. This is why the technique works. Not because of what you say, but because of what you don't do. You don't defend. You don't chase. You don't try to fix the situation. You simply shift the frame from, I need to prove myself, to, they need to justify themselves. And once that shift happens, you are no longer under pressure. You are applying it. This is where most people make a mistake. They try to use this technique, but their energy doesn't match it. They ask the question, but with tension, with frustration, with hidden emotion, and that breaks the effect, because the power of this move comes from detachment, from the absence of urgency, from the feeling that you are not threatened. Because if you feel threatened, they feel it, and if they feel it, they regain control. So the question is not just, what do you say? It's, how do you say it? Calmly, slowly, without pressure, as if the accusation doesn't move you at all. Because when your state remains stable, their instability becomes visible. And once that happens, the dynamic is no longer equal. It is reversed. You are no longer defending. You are directing, not loudly, not forcefully, but precisely. And precision is power, because now every word you say has weight, not because it's aggressive, but because it's controlled. And control is what they were trying to take from you, but instead, you've taken it from them, quietly, completely. This is the Machiavellian move, not to fight the accusation, but to turn it inside out, to let it collapse under its own weight, while you remain untouched. And once you master this, you will never feel the need to defend yourself again, because you will understand something deeper. The one who controls the frame controls the outcome, and now, that control is yours. 4. Psychological impact of the reversal. Something changes the moment you stop defending and start redirecting. It's subtle, almost invisible at first. No loud reaction, no dramatic shift, no obvious turning point. But underneath the surface, everything begins to move, because the dynamic they relied on is gone. They expected resistance. They expected emotion. They expected you to explain. But instead, they got something unfamiliar, stillness. And stillness creates uncertainty, because now they don't know what to do. Their pattern is broken. Their script is interrupted. Their expectations are no longer being met. And when expectations collapse, control collapses with them. This is the first psychological shift. Confusion. They begin to hesitate. They pause before speaking. They second-guess their approach, because what worked before is no longer working. And when a strategy stops working, the person using it becomes unstable. You can see it in small ways. A slight change in tone, a break in rhythm, a moment of silence they didn't plan for. These are cracks, small but important, because those cracks reveal something deeper. They are no longer certain, and certainty is the foundation of dominance. Without it, their position weakens. This leads to the second shift. Overcompensation. They begin to push harder, speak louder, repeat themselves, trying to regain control, trying to force a reaction out of you. But the more they push, the more obvious it becomes. Because now, they are the one reacting. They are the one escalating. They are the one trying. And trying reveals effort. Effort reveals pressure. And pressure reveals weakness. This is the reversal happening in real time. The roles are switching. They were calm. Now they are tense. You were reactive. Now you are still. And in that contrast, power shifts completely. But the deepest impact is not what happens externally. It's what happens internally, inside their mind. Because now they are forced to think. Why aren't they reacting? Did I misjudge them? Do I actually have control here? These questions create doubt. And doubt destabilizes everything. Because once someone begins to doubt their position, they can no longer hold it confidently. They become cautious, measured, less aggressive, not because they want to, but because they have to, because now they are unsure. And uncertainty is the opposite of power. This is the third shift, self-reflection. Not always conscious, not always intentional, but it happens. They begin to hear themselves, to notice their own tone, to recognize their own behavior, and without your reaction to justify it, that behavior starts to look different, more aggressive, more emotional, more exposed, because your silence removed the cover. Before, your reaction balanced the interaction. It made everything feel equal. But now, their behavior stands alone. And when behavior stands alone, it reveals truth. Not the truth of the accusation, but the truth of intention. And once intention becomes visible, control disappears. Because manipulation only works when it is hidden. This is the fourth shift. Loss of authority. Not because you attacked them, not because you argued, but because you didn't engage. And without engagement, their authority has nothing to stand on. No resistance, no conflict, no energy to push against. Just silence. And silence is difficult to control, because silence cannot be manipulated, cannot be redirected, cannot be twisted. It simply exists, unmoved. And in that stillness, you gain something most people lose instantly: presence. A calm, grounded presence. The kind that doesn't react. The kind that doesn't rush. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything. And that presence is felt, not just by the person accusing you, but by anyone watching. Because observers don't analyze words. They read energy. And the calm person always appears stronger, even without speaking. This is the final shift. Perception. The way others see the interaction changes. The one who was accusing now looks unstable. The one who was silent now looks in control. And perception is power. Because in social dynamics, people don't follow truth. They follow certainty. And certainty is expressed through stillness. Not through explanation. Not through defense. But through presence. This is the true impact of the reversal. You didn't just avoid the trap. You changed the entire structure of the interaction. From reaction to observation. From pressure to control. From defense to dominance. And the most powerful part? You did it without force, without aggression, without saying more than necessary. That is the difference. Because real power doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to prove itself. Simply shifts the space and lets others reveal themselves. And once you understand that, you stop trying to win arguments and start controlling dynamics. Silently, precisely, completely. 5. Real-life power scripts. How to use it. Understanding power is one thing. Using it is something else entirely. Because in the moment, when the accusation hits, your instincts don't disappear. You still feel the pressure. You still feel the urge to react. You still feel that pull to defend yourself. And that's where most people fail. Not because they don't understand the strategy, but because they don't know what to do in real time. So this is where everything becomes practical. Not theory, not concepts, but precise control. Because the goal is simple. Do not defend. Flip the burden. Control the frame. And to do that, you need structure. Not long explanations. Not complex responses. Just calm, controlled lines that shift the pressure instantly. The first rule: slow everything down. Before any words comes timing. When accused, pause. Even 1 second is enough. That pause does 3 things. It breaks the automatic reaction. It signals control, creates pressure, because most people respond immediately, but you don't. And that difference is noticed. Scenario 1, general accusation. You're always messing things up. Most people respond, "That's not true, I didn't." Stop. Instead say, what exactly are you referring to? Short, neutral, controlled. Now they must think. Now they must define. Now they must prove. You've shifted the burden. Scenario 2, workplace attack. You didn't handle that properly. Don't defend your work. Say, can you walk me through what you expected instead? Notice the shift. You're not explaining. You're making them clarify. And when they clarify, they expose their thinking, which gives you control. Scenario 3, personal criticism. You don't care about anyone but yourself. Instead of reacting emotionally, say, what makes you see it that way? Now they must reflect. And reflection slows aggression, because it forces them to think, instead of attack. Scenario 4, false accusation. You lied. This is where most people panic. They rush to defend, but you don't. You stay calm and say, that's a serious claim. What are you basing it on? Now the weight shifts, because claims require support, and without support, they collapse. Scenario 5, public challenge. Someone calls you out in front of others. This is where pressure is highest, because now it's not just about them. It's about perception. Most people react fast, try to protect their image, but that creates weakness. Instead, slow down, look at them, and say, before I respond, I want to understand your point clearly. Now the room shifts, because calm in public is dominance, and the one who stays composed controls perception. The second rule, never over-explain. Once you flip the burden, don't take it back. This is where people make mistakes. They ask a question, but then start explaining anyway. That breaks the frame, because now you're back in defense. So remember, ask, pause, let them answer, and stay minimal, because the more you say, the more control you give away. The third rule, control your state. Words don't create power. State does. You can say the perfect line, but if your tone is tense, if your body shows pressure, if your eyes reveal emotion, it won't work, because people don't just hear words. They read energy. So your goal is simple: calm voice, slow pace, neutral expression, no urgency, because urgency is weakness, and stillness is authority. The final shift. At first, this will feel unnatural, because you've been conditioned to defend, to explain, to prove yourself. But over time, something changes. You stop feeling pressure. You stop feeling urgency. You stop needing to respond immediately. And when that happens, you gain something most people never have: control over the interaction. Not by dominating others, but by refusing to be controlled. And once you reach that point, accusations stop feeling like threats. They become opportunities. Opportunities to observe, to redirect, to assert quiet authority. Because now, you understand the game. And more importantly, you know how to win it. Not through force, not through argument, but through precision, through timing, through control. And once you master that, you don't just respond differently. You are perceived differently, stronger, calmer, untouchable. And that perception is power, the true nature of dominance. Most people think power comes from winning arguments, from proving themselves, from speaking more. But real power is quieter than that. It's in control. Control of your reaction, control of your presence, control of the interaction itself. Because the moment you stop defending, you stop chasing approval. And the moment you stop chasing, you become the one others adjust to. Remember this: the accusation is not the threat. Your reaction is. And when you learn to flip the burden, you don't just avoid the trap. You control it. Silently, calmly, completely. That is dominance.